Make the most out of your time at work
with Karen Gately,
leadership and people management specialist.
Karen Gately, good morning. I suppose the question that we want to know is, how are you feeling today?
I'm fine, thank you. I'm actually well. I'm good.
Excellent. I mean, we've got a day here in South Australia where it's going to be unseasonably hot, but also windy. So at the start of spring, all of a sudden the pollen is getting kicked through the air. People's hay fever is off the chain. And in a year where COVID-19 has kind of changed the game in terms of sickness at work, we're wanting to know the rules around it.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I think, as you say, it really has highlighted, the importance of what we take into the workplace, I guess, is the simple way of putting it. That, whilst you spoke there about it could be hay fever and something that really isn't harmful to other people, I think generally speaking, we're going to be a lot more cautious or mindful, or at least should be. At the end of the day, I think it's always been wise to keep illness out of the workplace.
Yeah.
But our desire to soldier on and that perception that we've got to just keep working, or that in fact it's rewarded or valued by some employers that we do just keep kind of soldiering on, I think all of that needs to change. And, I think the common sense starting point is that health is the priority, not only for ourselves, which, clearly makes common sense, but for those that we work with. And so I think there's a lot of change in mindset as well around our ability, for example, in many industries to work from home. So I'm certainly not advocating that you work from home if you're, battling the flu. But if you're not certain, is this some kind of bug or is this just my hay fever, then, hopefully a work from home solution is available as well.
The whole situation is fascinating because right the way through the pandemic, we've been told if you've got a runny nose, sore throat, loss of sense of taste or smell, and a bunch of other symptoms as well, that we should be going off and getting tested. Now, with that test has come a kind of time on the sidelines where people have had to wait for their results and not go back into work. That in itself has probably been a good thing, but now that we are in hay fever season, people will just have the sniffles, as they do every spring. And the question will become, are you going to be judged in the workplace for going in with the sniffles?
Yes. I think from some people, absolutely. I think fear in our community is going to remain high. And as we know, I'm sitting in Victoria, so it's going to be next level for a period.
Yeah.
But I think across the whole country, people are far more tuned into this. So I think that people may be nervous, and clearly, depending on personalities, etc., may or may not actually raise comment. But, I think people are going to be far more mindful. So, I think things like that we've seen in other countries since the beginning of time is, for example, wearing a mask. If we're not sure or we want to give other people comfort, again, distancing ourselves, all of those things can go some way toward alleviating that fear. But I do think that people will be nervous. I know even for myself there's been times where I've been out and I've dared to sneeze and suddenly you feel guilty and, oh no, can I assure you I'm not sick, I just got something up my nostrils. So it is. It's going to be interesting to see how people respond.
What do you say to people who are, maybe a little bit immunodeficient? Someone who I think about in that regard is Crystal. Of course, she's been on the Power Pack for a long time. We know she suffers from endometriosis, which leaves her with a compromised immune system. So, you're kind of copping a lot of sick days. It all builds up, and maybe in that employee's mind, I kind of have to go in because I don't want to lose all of my sick leave, or I've got no sick leave left. In that situation, is that a discussion to have with your employee to see what you can do, or is it just really just bad luck?
No, I think, clearly it's something we need to negotiate with our employers, right? Because we have to be fair to employers, fair to individuals, but that's very real.
Yeah.
And sometimes that will be absolutely necessary for people. Other times there'll be, the fear or nervousness around how vulnerable they are. There's a whole range of emotion and concern around that stuff. So, again, I do think that employers being creative and supportive and compassionate around, what are some of the options?
Yeah.
If there is a situation where, in Crystal's situation, somebody has been in the office, she needs to, feel safe by being away for a period of time, but again, as you pointed out, doesn't have to leave, then what are some of the options? We've certainly learned through this time that it's actually possible to keep working for the majority from afar. And again, obviously, radio has its limitations, but I would encourage even the radio industry to really look at that. I'm producing our TV show from my study at home at the moment. So if we can do TV, why not radio? So, I do think it's time for employers to get creative and sort of flexible around how we can accommodate those needs. And then there's an element of, life is risky. We can walk down the street and obviously buses come along, sometimes not always staying where they're supposed to be. So, again, without wanting to sound unfair or naive, there will be a fear base that some people will have to work through around, yes, they are vulnerable, but to what extent is it real risk? And, making those judgment calls. So I think we've all got a lot to work through and work out in that regard.
Yeah, I think it's got to be just one foot in front of the other. We're just going to have to work our way through it. But first of all, take care of yourselves, take care of the people around you, and watch out for buses as well as number 3. Karen, we'll do it again next Monday.
Thank you.